maybe I'll be the one that ends up crying on this podcast. I don't know, because I feel so passionate about this, is that it's a food service that matters to people that matter.
I want it to be a great place for people to work. I want people to like what they're doing with us. I want people to be proud every day. I want them to go home feeling good every night. I want them to have balance, right? And then I want that to show in our partners that we're serving. I want them to feel that.
If you ask me for like my top 10 memories, I think like 7 of them are around the dinner table.
Yeah. There's so many times in hospitality, I think people get defensive, right? Or they want to make excuses. Nobody wants to hear that, right? Like, imagine anytime you make a call to voice a concern, all you want is for someone to say, hey, I'm sorry, let me fix that.
We now have an ability to say yes when I think a lot of other people have to say no or have to say maybe. We're just in a position to say yes, and that feels really good.
Yeah.
You're listening to Seasoned Leaders, a podcast about leadership, growth, and the power of hospitality. I'm Adam Guy, and in this episode, Jack Dawson and I are taking you into the heart of Upper Crust Food Service, our vision, our purpose, our values, and what truly sets us apart.
If you've ever wanted to see Jack Dawson cry,
Here we are, people.
this might be the episode for you.
Yep.
We're going to get into some touchy-feely stuff and kind of some of the core values and the heart of Upper Crust Food Service. You ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So we have brought together over the last few years, basically the cultures of 4 different companies. And it's difficult to bring together the processes of 4 different companies to understand, like, we're going to, operate in a certain way. But I think even more importantly, and probably even tougher, is bringing the culture of 4 companies together.
Yeah. Learning from experience now, coming in wanting to say, well, this is how we're going to do it to everybody on our team, right? And realizing that that's virtually impossible, right? But taking it one decision at a time, one action at a time, one day at a time, but also then bringing together leaders from every one of our organizations that are now part of Upper Crust and agreeing on who we are, who we want to be, and then having that one direction, right? Instead of pulling it in 4 different ways.
And I think, I had a really unique point of view acquiring these companies, because what I was able to see when I was kind of digging into the companies and learning more about them was that every one of the companies had a very different culture, had some different values that were important to them and different ways that they got from point A to point B. But everybody had the same goal. The same end goal, which was to serve really great food and take care of partners. And so I think it's just interesting how every company took a different path. After we did the acquisition of College Fresh and we brought you in as president and we finished the transaction with College Fresh, one of the first things that you and I did was sit down and say, like, what is this company going to look like? Right? What is important to us? And we really felt like it was time to sit down and spend as much time on that as we were spending on recipes and food, because at the end of the day, that's what resonates with our employees, right? That's their why. Why do they show up every day? Why do they want to work for Upper Crust, right? And it's also important for our partners. Like, why do you want to partner with Upper Crust? It goes beyond just that the food tastes good.
Yeah, and it's been a cool process for me. So to really focus on what's important to me, right? That we do operate with a sense of care and responsibility to our partners. Different doesn't mean wrong. It just means different. Right. And it's been really cool to work with you through that. And to, it hasn't been this straight trajectory, right? There's been back and forth and there's been ups and downs, but really the overall direction that we're heading is just something that I'm super proud of.
I think that's so important. I tell a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to, because in business, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs, right? You're going to have, I like to think about like the roller coaster of being an entrepreneur, right? There's days that you start your business with all this optimism and, you're going to conquer the world. And then you have to hire your first employee and you're like, oh, wait a second, this is going to be really hard, right? And then the bills come and maybe the timing is off and now all of a sudden you feel like you're going to go out of business, right? And then a month later, you get your big contract and now you're back on the top of the hill again. I tell entrepreneurs that are going through that a lot that it doesn't matter what happens today. What matters is the direction that you're heading. And so I feel like this project that we did on really understanding the heart of Upper Crust Food Service and what we were going to be about, we feel like this is what is going to set the direction that Upper Crust is heading in. So let's take it back. And I think, one of the goals here is we want to tell our story. And I think that, just to be candid, over the last year, there's been a lot of people that have been telling our story for us, whether it be competitors, whether it be employees, whether it be, people in the industry. And I think a lot of that happens, it happens out of maybe not fully understanding what the story is. And so I think our goal in some of this is like, we want to start being the ones to tell our story.
Sure.
Because we have a great story to tell. And I think we've worked so hard on putting this together, and all this work we're doing internally. We want to start having that really show externally, and really be something that is all of our employees embrace, that our partners can embrace. And we want everyone to really understand where we're coming from in building this. So with that being said, today we're going to dive into, the Upper Crust vision, our purpose, our core values, sort of the point of difference that we think that all of these create for Upper Crust. So why don't we start with our vision? So the vision of Upper Crust, as we've come down and we've defined it, is to build a world where employees and partners' lives are transformed through hospitality.
Yep.
So when you hear that, what does that mean to you?
When you talk about transforming lives, I think for me, I always wanted to run a company where I was proud to do it daily, where people gave a darn about doing good work and serving our partners, and where it really had a positive impact. Fortunate enough to be in this position, and now that I am and have been relatively successful in doing so, I'm stubborn enough to want to do it the right way. And I know you feel the same way. So for me, if I'm looking internally, I want it to be a great place for people to work. I want people to like what they're doing with us. I want people to be proud every day. I want them to go home feeling good every night. I want them to have balance, right? And then I want that to show in our partners that we're serving. I want them to feel that. I want the students that are eating our food every single day to love coming in and eating the food that Upper Crust is serving, and to have everything they need so that they're not worrying about food and nutrition. They're worrying about 1,000 other things that students today are dealing with, that this is one thing that they don't have to worry about, and they know and they trust and they have comfort when they experience our product. So that's what it means to me.
And I think the word that jumps off the page in our vision statement is really hospitality to me, because at the core of what we do is hospitality. And I just feel like for me, that's just a really big passion, right? I feel like it's kind of a God-given gift to be able to be hospitable, to feel like I want to exude hospitality to others. And we kind of talked about it in some earlier episodes, just about like, this hospitality started for both of us as kids, and seeing our parents be hospitable, and just seeing, the joy that creates in people. Because life is tough. Life is hard, right? So one thing that we can all agree on is that, there is connection and power around food and being around a table and breaking bread together. And so I think that this idea that we can be the most hospitable company and hospitality focused is really something I love. So let's transition now from the vision of Upper Crust to the purpose of Upper Crust.
Okay.
And really what we're talking about, and the difference between these, is that, our vision is the world that we want to create at Upper Crust.
Okay.
And the purpose is the reason why we exist. And so as we transition there to the purpose, our purpose is to foster connection through the power of food.
I always love hearing that, right? We talk all the time. We'll joke with our partners that, if the food is good and the Wi-Fi is good at these chapter houses, and everyone's happy. But really, I've also said, and a friend of mine from the industry, Scott Fusel, would always echo this in his presentations, that really what makes a fraternity is getting together around a meal. Because so much of it is the students are here and they're running around, and the social activities is one thing, but really the brothers or the sisters getting together and sharing those moments around a meal together is what drives us.
When we look at the competitive nature that is Greek housing, you have so many buildings that are being built on college campuses that have every amenity imaginable, right? I mean, from lazy rivers to tanning beds to, you name it, it's there. At fraternity and sorority houses, we don't have any of those things.
Yeah.
We don't have any of the frills. We don't have any extras. At the end of the day, it's the brotherhood and it's the sisterhood that makes us different.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing that I get so excited about with Upper Crust, is like, we get to be a part of what is differentiating the Greek market from just the normal student housing market. And we're able to be a part of what attracts people to the house.
And it's real, right?
It's real.
As much as a lazy river would be pretty cool and most people would want one, Part of what we're supporting in Greek life is real connection, real brotherhood, sisterhood, real friendship, stuff that feels to be missing in a lot of places out there today. So, yeah, absolutely purpose. I get goosebumps just sitting here and talking about that.
Yeah, and when I think back to my time in the fraternity house, so many of my memories, if you ask me for like my top 10 memories, I think like 7 of them are around the dinner table.
Yeah.
Right. Just with guys doing crazy things and us having fun and maybe we're talking about something that happened the night before or something that's going to happen the next night, or we're celebrating an intramural victory or, whatever it might be. Like so many of these memories. And it was the one place in our house that everybody came together every single night for dinner. And so to be able to just like foster that connection through the power of food, I just think it's perfect for Upper Crust.
I love that we're talking about it in this type of setting too. One, for our partners to know, but also internally, let's make this so clear that this is who we are and who we want to be, that the people that feel the same way will gravitate towards this, right? Want to come be a part of this Upper Crust family and take care of our partners this way. And the ones that don't, maybe they don't.
Well, you bring up a great point as we talk about our values and our purpose and our vision, like a lot of this does set us up for exactly what you just mentioned. And I'm a big believer in being very clear with what you're trying to do so that you are attracting the people that agree with that.
Yep.
So if we want to say that we're going to be about hospitality and we're going to be about connection, right? We have to have employees that believe that as well.
Yep.
And my goal is to create an environment that if you're not hospitable and that's not in your DNA, you feel uncomfortable working for us.
Yeah.
You feel like you don't fit.
Yeah.
And you're going to want to find a different job.
Yep.
Right? Because you're going to be pressed so hard on a daily basis to show a genuine hospitality and care for our customers that if you're not doing that, you're going to go find a different place to work.
Yep.
And the same thing goes with our partners. We want to attract, because of our values, we want to attract partners who want to be a part of that. And that doesn't happen overnight.
No.
I think it happens through us continually every day showing up.
Different decisions that have to be made consistently over time, right?
That's right. And I think that's what we're committed to, right? We're committed to starting that and making sure that from a leadership standpoint, right, that people feel that from you and me. And then we're going to push that down through every layer of our company, all the way down to our frontline employees that are taking care of our partners every day.
So you mentioned hospitality, which is the first of our acronym, right? And
that's right.
Our values heart. Should we dive into that and talk a little bit about that now?
I say we go for it.
One of the coolest things of this exercise for us is you talked about bringing 4 different cultures together and finding these shared values and what's going to drive us forward. And, we have heart, which I think it's a great acronym. It's a little cheesy, but it's great and it's applicable. But also the coolest part was finding those on-brand behaviors, right? So when we talk about hospitality, what does that mean to us, right? And for us, I think one of the things that stood out was like for hospitality, for that specific core value, the on-brand behavior of going above and beyond to ensure that our partners feel what we're talking about here, right? So little extra touches, little things that maybe are unexpected. It's not just, hey, what's on the contract? We're just doing the contract, but hey, what else can we do to provide that experience for the student member? So an on-brand behavior would be going above and beyond to take care or to make one of our partners' days.
No question. We talk about like almost like exceeding expectations a little bit, in the sense that, to exceed an expectation, you first have to identify what is the expectation, right? And so I think that happens a lot for us in like identifying our spec sheets and, hey, this is the expectation. This is what people paid for, right? This is what they're expecting for us to show up and provide. And then how can we then take that and go a little bit beyond, right? How can we do something a little bit special? A year ago, we brought Will Gadara's team from Unreasonable Hospitality. So if anybody has not read that book, like it's an amazing book, and Will owned the #1 restaurant in the world. But his entire book is about all of these ways that they went above and beyond and over the top in their customer service to earn themselves that #1 spot. And it didn't happen overnight.
No.
Right. And it was a struggle to get everybody on board, but he created a culture where, people celebrated those victories and celebrated the times that they were going above and beyond. And that's culture. And that's
Yep.
what we want to create here. And so that was kind of the beginning of that idea, was bringing his team in, from his restaurant in New York City and talking to our managers and talking to our team. And so that still resonates within the company today. And we don't want to lose that idea that Upper Crust wants to be
No, we can't.
unreasonable in our hospitality
Yep.
towards others. Another value that we have is ethics. So when I say ethics, what does that mean to you?
The simplest way I can say it is doing what's right when nobody is looking, right? Consistently, day in, day out, doing the right thing. There's so many times in hospitality, I think people get defensive, right? Or they want to make excuses. Nobody wants to hear that, right? Like, imagine anytime you make a call to voice a concern, all you want is for someone to say, "Hey, I'm sorry, let me fix that," right? So those are the things that stand out to me when I'm thinking ethics, just doing what's right, being human about it, and taking care of people.
Now, I also think about like how we're thinking about the acquisitions that we've done, the ethics that go along with that. I think that there is, some thought in the marketplace that, oh man, if Upper Crust, buys competitors, then, they're going to be able to control price or raise price or
Right.
lower services or do things like that. And while that fear is legitimate, like I understand why someone would have that fear. If you're a company that has ethics, then we're not viewing it in that way at
No.
all, right? We're viewing it as, hey, pulling these companies together is pulling together all the talent from all these different companies, right? So that we can better serve our customers. And so I think this idea of ethics to me also is just like how we're handling this whole transition and having the base of being like, hey, we really do believe that pulling these companies together is going to be a better thing
Yep.
for our partners and allow us to give a higher level of service.
And everything you just said is what made me feel comfortable doing this, right? So that's why it's important.
How about adaptability?
Oh gosh, I mean, not only are we in food service, we are in food service in sorority houses, fraternity houses, on campus, right? So this is never going to be a cut and paste Monday through Friday 9 to 5 position, right? This is something where we need to be ready to adapt to anything that comes up, and for us to be able to adapt on the fly, as you mentioned, to have all the density that we have, to have the buying power, to all these things that are great that Upper Crust brings to the table. But to be able to leverage these processes and stay flexible and still be able to address partner concerns or questions on a daily basis, and to do it quickly, that's what, when I think of adaptability, then I apply that to Upper Crust.
I think when I think about adaptability, it's this ability to say yes. And
Sure.
I think like that's
Love that.
we now have an ability to say yes when
Yes,
I
and,
think
right.
a lot of other people have to say no or have to say maybe. We're just in a position to say yes, and that feels really good.
Yeah, it
to
does.
be able to say yes to partners and be able to do some things that we couldn't have done. Like the sum of our parts is greater, right? And so now we can do a lot more than any of us individually could do before.
Yeah, your answer was better on that one. I like that. That's
You like that better?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
chalk
Yeah.
one up for me. I don't know if you know, but we're pretty competitive. So
That's good.
so we may have to start keeping score here on the answers. How about responsibility?
This is one that, like, going back to early days at College Fresh, and even probably at Hendrick House, like this core understanding that we are guests in these students' homes, that we have a responsibility to be safe, to do things the right way, to support them, to take care of them, but ultimately understanding that they are our client and we are here to cook really good food for them and to keep their house and their kitchen equipment clean and safe. That is our responsibility. And understanding that we are not entitled to anything more than that, is something that always resonated with me, and something I want our team to understand, that this is a privilege for us. This is not just a given opportunity, that we have to earn this every single day, the opportunity to come back and take care of our partners.
One of the sayings that we have at Upper Crust is that we're only as good as our last meal.
Yeah.
And that was something that we came up with together. That's kind of a rallying cry for our employees.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to exactly what you spoke about, right? Is it's like we have a responsibility to show up every day.
Yep.
And we have a responsibility to put out great food on every plate, every opportunity that's in front of us, to do the best that we can. And, it's as small, I think responsibility to me is as small as showing up in your uniform that's clean and
Right.
laundered and that you look
Have the
good.
battle sometimes.
Yeah, and you look prepared to show up today and be a professional.
Yeah.
All the way to the higher level stuff that you just covered.
And I have a natural tendency to lean on the external side of it, but we also have responsibility internally, right? Everything we've just talked about, we have a responsibility to live this day in and day out for our team. So it's a big one, but also a very important one.
The last part of heart for us and our last core value is transparency. When I think about transparency, I think a lot about our partners. And the transparency that they want to have from a provider, right? To be able to call up and get real answers, to feel like we're true partners with them, right? How does transparency resonate with you?
You talk about partners. I'm not sure we can build partnerships without it, right? Can we build a trusting, actual relationship internally or externally with partners if we're not just being honest and transparent about why we're making decisions, what's happening, where are we on the process, just being fully transparent. Here's where we are. Here's the struggles, or here's the great news that's happened, I think has allowed us to build those relationships and allowed us to have the success that we have. You can't do it without just being open and honest with our partner.
And I think the transparency also is important with our employees.
100%.
There's a lot of things that come up, or we have to have hard conversations, right? We have to be transparent. We have to really let them know where we're coming from and why we are. And this idea of having these core values and not just putting them on a poster on a wall, but actually living them out like that, I think is really at the heart of what we're trying to get to here. No pun intended, is to have these be things that are really actionable for our staff, easy to remember. And also, I would say things that our partners can hold us accountable for.
Sitting here and saying all this stuff on a podcast, absolutely. I'll have it be known to all of our people internally that we mean this, right? And if you ever feel like we're veering off in a different direction, call us out on it, right? I love that you said that. It helps hold us accountable to it.
Yeah, no question. So the last thing, I kind of want to tie all this together, and you haven't cried yet. So for those that are waiting, we still got time. We still got time. Is kind of bringing us to this point of difference. So it's one thing to talk about, your purpose and your values and your vision and all of these things, but if it doesn't make us different than anybody else, then maybe it doesn't matter that much. And so I really want it to make a difference. And so when we sat down and we talked about that, we came up with a formula. Okay. And I am not good at formulas, math, algebra, anything, but I can get behind this one. I'm hoping that we don't have to have a tutor for this, for anyone to understand how simple and straightforward this is, which is one of the goals of core values. But what we want to do is we want to take our heart, so our core values in our heart, and we want to add that to our operational excellence. And so by operational excellence, we mean this team of 2,500 plus people that work every day in the field, taking care of our partners and all of the systems that we have in place and all the resources that we've given them to perform on a daily basis. So we take our heart, we add that to our operational excellence, and then we add in the secret ingredient, which is connection through the power of food, right? And if we can get all three of those right, and we can pursue those things relentlessly, we truly do believe that the answer is that those three together is going to equal transformation.
If I'm thinking about, teasing you in your math process, like you remember when you had to do proofs and you had to kind of break it down, right? So if I'm doing a proof on this, or if I'm breaking it down, I think we have competitors out there who care, right? They care. There's some good ones out there. We have some competitors that are strong in certain areas. And we have some competitors that have some relationships. But what you and I are talking about here is that we know we care. And I know that partners that have worked with me and that have worked with you in the past know that we care. We've got these core values that we've put together and that we are going to continue to shout from the mountaintop on every podcast we can get on and every opportunity we have to speak with partners. And then we've got this density that we know no one else has right now. And when we combine that, I think that's what you're saying is what differentiates us from our competitors out there and any other opportunities, is that we've got all three together. And that's the really exciting thing. That's the thing I want to keep talking about. I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to do a little proof there for you.
Absolutely. I wish you would have been there in ninth grade to help me through the algebra, because that was great. At the end of the day, we truly do believe that we can be more than a food service provider. And I think that is so important, because food is what we do, right? But it's this connection and this power through the food is what we're really about. And, we came up with a slogan that I absolutely love. And so maybe I'll be the one that ends up crying on this podcast. I don't know, because I feel so passionate about this, is that it's a food service that matters to people that matter.
Yep.
And at the core of all of this, like, that's what this is all about, right? Like, we think what we do matters, right? We think it matters in the kitchens that we serve. The food that we put out matters, and it matters to the people that we're serving. And those people matter to us,
yep.
right? And all those people matter to other people. And so, like, we're part of this really great process around a table and around food. And I don't know, I just get really excited about that,
yep.
that we can take maybe what has been done forever and has been done a certain way, and we can say, no, Upper Crust is going to do it different,
yep.
right? We're going to do it different than everybody else has done it. And we're going to kind of redefine what it means to show hospitality in food service management.
Yep. And having worked with you and gotten to know you better from when we really started this thing in January, I know that you mean that, which is why I get fired up leaving here today.
So for me, wrapping it up, I've got a good buddy of mine. So I'm gonna give a shout out to my buddy, John Marsh. You know, John might be one person to listen to this podcast besides my mom. So I'm going to text him that I gave him a shout out so that, you know,
my wife will probably listen.
Okay. So we got another one. That's good. But he says something that I think really has resonated with me as I've worked not only on myself, but worked on my company over the last few years. And that is, like, I want to create this company, Upper Crust, with you, Jack, where we have an intersection of purpose and profit.
Okay.
And I think that for so many people, look at a company that's growing like ours, and they look at us doing acquisitions, and they look at all this stuff, and they say, oh, well, they must be all about profit. And we're in business to make money,
sure.
right? We're not a nonprofit. But we also want to be in business to have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to be impactful in this world. And we don't want to just do this to
matter.
We want it to matter. Yeah. We don't want it to just be numbers on a spreadsheet. We want to actually be a really genuinely great partner for people. And I believe that we can do good and we can do well, right?
Yep.
That we can make our Sunday school teacher and our economics teacher happy at the same time.
I like that.
Right. And so I think that is our goal and our heart for Upper Crust. And sure. I'm just really looking forward to continuing to build that with you.
Yeah, me too. I love working with you. I get more and more confidence, right? Because I think I was always so scared of saying profit, right? Like, but being transparent, like, we want to do well. We want to be good partners. We want to do well for all of our people. It's a holistic approach. And I love the energy, and I'm all about it.
All right. Well, let's go get it.
Let's do it, buddy.
All right.
Today, you heard the heart behind everything we do, our vision, our purpose, and the values that guide us. In the next episode of Seasoned Leaders, we'll show you what that heart looks like in action, what actually happens when a partner signs with Upper Crust, and how we bring hospitality to life every single day. Until next time, thanks for listening, and stay seasoned.